The NBA Finals is tied up at 1-1. The Oklahoma City Thunder rebounded from a traumatic loss in Game 1 with a 123-107 win over the Indiana Pacers. Another magnificent game from NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 34 points and 8 assists. SGA has 72 points in the first two games in the finals. That's the highest two-game total in NBA history for a player competing in his first finals. The next two games are in Indianapolis. Game 3 is Wednesday night. The Dodgers beat St. Louis Sunday 7-3. They start a three-game series tonight in San Diego. The Angels lost at home to Seattle 3-2. Angels batters struck out 18 times. The Angels start a three-game series tonight at home against Oakland. UCLA's baseball team is in the College World Series for the first time since 2013. The Bruins beat Texas San Antonio 7-0 to win the LA Super Regional. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again. Holla.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say.
Let's do this.
Let's get it on.
On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
We love you. Love you.
Try to keep it coming. Things ain't always smooth. But I'll be alright as long as I can find the good. Yes, I will. Yeah. Somehow I know that I can make it. You seem to like my style. Don't you worry, I'm gonna be around a while. I'm just happy to see you talk to me back in style again.
Live from historic Lamert Park in Los Angeles, California, I'm Tavis Smiley, and I'm so glad to see you and me. Back in stride again. Before we get started with today's show, let me invite you to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Real Tavis Smiley, and get updates on X, that's formerly Twitter, at Tavis Smiley. By the way, Should you miss any part of today's program or want to catch up on previous shows, you can always visit thetavisSmileyShow.com. That's thetavisSmileyShow.com, or wherever you get your podcast, and listen to the Tavis Smiley podcast version of this live program at your leisure. Another great show on tap for you today. In our second hour, two conversations. Up first, Princeton economics professor Leah Boustan on her new text, Streets of Gold, America's Untold Story of Immigrant Success. On the B side, how timely is that conversation, right? We'll get into that in a second. Stand by. You know I'm going there. On the B side of hour two, media executive Paul Allen Billings talks about the ultimate radio promotion, a free trip to Africa for kids from low-income communities, all of whom are first-generation international travelers. How cool is that? We'll talk about it on the backside of hour two. In our third hour, a conversation with the renowned scholar Adolph Reed, professor emeritus in political science at UPenn. What are we going to talk about? Good question. I don't even know. But for me, that's the joy of talking to brilliant intellectuals like Adolph Reed. So I look forward to going wherever we're going to go in hour three today. But in this first hour, speaking of looking forward to a conversation, I am always delighted to dialogue with Barbara McQuade, former U.S. attorney turned New York Times bestselling author. Her latest, just released in paperback, is Attack from Within, How Disinformation Is Sabotaging America. And I am pleased to welcome Barbara McQuade back to this program. Barbara, how are you today?
I'm well, Tavis. Thanks a lot for having me. You know, it's a disturbing time in America, and happy to chat with you a little bit to try to bring some sense to it.
Yeah, disturbing is one word for it. We're going to try to make sense of it in this hour. I should commence by saying to the national audience, and many of them in the national audience heard about this. We saw the numbers yesterday. So this program is nationally syndicated. I always say for that I am deeply grateful. We're heard in markets all across the country, but I am based, as you know, Barbara, in L.A. And yesterday here in L.A., my home station, KBLA, Talk 1580, we broadcast a live 3-hour conversation for the nation yesterday. We wanted certainly our audience across the country to hear about what was happening in L.A. And so this black talk station, black operated talk station, did 3 hours yesterday, and everybody came through. Mayor Bass came through yesterday. Sheriff Robert Luna, the sheriff, came through yesterday. The city attorney came through yesterday. Other electeds came through yesterday. All kinds of influencers for 3 hours. My colleagues and I were in this studio yesterday for 3 hours broadcasting, trying to make sense, to use Barbara's phrase, of what is happening in our city. Before I jump into my own assessment of where we are today, and more importantly, hear what Barbara McQuade has to say about this conundrum, this political and frankly constitutional conundrum that we find ourselves in. Let me start with some sound from the mayor, Mayor Karen Bass, who I spoke with yesterday.
Please exercise your First Amendment right peacefully. And I think that it is critical to say that, because if there is violence and if there is vandalism, we do not need to have federal troops, you know, the National Guard, on our streets. And we should not give them an excuse to demobilize in our city in a even bigger way.
We were talking earlier, Mayor, with Connie Rice about this and asking her opinion. I've seen a number of pieces written about this by a number of legal experts, whether or not the president had the authority to do what he has done. You mentioned there are a couple hundred National Guard troops already here. He promised 2,000. But what's your sense of whether or not the president had the authority to do this in the first place?
Well, Tavis, you know I'm not a lawyer. Yeah. My understanding is that he can federalize the National Guard, and his letter to the governor said that. That's the extent that I am aware. But there are very specific rules about when and where and how you deploy the military, because you have heard the defense secretary say he wants, you know, actual Marines or Army troops on our streets. So again, I think this is posturing. I think that it is a completely unnecessary show of force in a city that is peaceful.
That is the mayor of the city of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, who spent some good time with me and my colleagues yesterday in conversation about where we are. That was yesterday. We'll talk about where we are today and where we go from here. To quote Dr. King, where do we go from here when we really get this hour started with our guest? Honored to have her. The new book is called Attack from Within. She is Barbara McQuade. June, of course, is Black Music Month. We continue every day of this program to pick an artist of the day and share the best of their catalog, all 3 hours of our program. I'm going gospel today, and I think you know why. If we ever need it, you know how that line goes. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. It's the Winans all day today on Tavis Smiley.
From Lamert Park with love, this is Tavis Smiley.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
KBLA Talk 1580 congratulates Pastor and Mrs. William Sachs Epps on their retirement from stewardship at the historic Second Baptist Church. Dr. Epps has faithfully served Second Baptist as its senior pastor for 37 years. What a legacy of love and leadership. Pastor and Mrs. Epps will be honored at a luncheon on Saturday, July 26, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Sheraton Universal Hotel in Universal City, and you're invited to attend. Noted scholar Dr. Michael Eric Dyson is the keynote speaker. For ticket information, please contact epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. That's epsretirement@gmail.com or call 213-399-2103. To Pastor Epps and First Lady Epps, congratulations from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580.
Moisture body wash.
It's me, Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash. I see those dry elbows, baby. But don't worry, get moisturized right in the shower. So hydrated you can skip the lotion after.
Don't wanna see it dry no more. Skin so moisturized with body wash.
Look at you now, no more dry skin. Your skin gets the moisture it craves with
Olay Indulgent Moisture Body Wash.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in.
But we're okay with that.
You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
It's the best of the Winans today. we'll throw in some BB and CC along with the brothers. But it's June, and you know how we do it. We choose, again, a different artist every day and play some of the best of their catalog. So today, we're going gospel. We've done R&B, we'll do jazz, we'll do folk, we'll do the blues, we'll do it all, celebrating so many of the great artists in our community. And today, again, the best of the Winans, the entire family on Tavis Smiley. Let's jump into this conversation, though. Barbara McQuade's new book is called Attack from Within, How Disinformation Is Sabotaging America. It is just out now in paperback. Always thrilled again to be in conversation with Barbara. So, Barbara, let me go to this clip I played a moment ago of Mayor Bass. And there's so much there to unpack. I want to just put one more piece out and let you go wherever you want to go, and I will follow you because this story is dynamic. It is organic. It has tentacles on it like I have not even imagined it would have a few days ago. But here's where I think we ended yesterday in our conversation. I'll play some more clips throughout this hour. But I think all of us ended up on this note yesterday that 500 protesters does not constitute an insurrection or a rebellion justifying the National Guard and or the Marines. Here's what we have: 8,000 LAPD cops, 2,000 CHP officers, 14,000 sheriff's deputies for 500 protesters. This whole immigration trauma drama is what we believe to be a flashbang distraction to deflect attention away from this atrocious, big, beautiful bill, as he calls it, this budget bill. He's bullying us here in L.A. He's bullying us here in California. He's threatened to arrest the governor, threatened to arrest the mayor. This is a spectacle which he has provoked. He would love nothing more than for us to act a fool. He would love to have bloodshed. I saw a piece from David Frum this morning in The Atlantic where he says this is just a dry run. This is Donald Trump's dry run for what happens a few years from now when the Constitution says it's time for him to surrender power. He's testing this situation out. I digress. That's enough to get us started. I'm following you, Barbara McQuade. It's all yours.
Yeah, it's one of the challenges, I think, with the Insurrection Act and the authority given to the President of the United States is it presumes good faith. That in a time of an emergency, the president might need to send troops to a place to restore order or to help enforce federal law. You may recall that we saw, President Eisenhower send federal troops to help students enter the Little Rock High School in Arkansas during the Civil Rights Movement. And the language of the law is really quite vague. It talks about civil disorder. It does talk about insurrection, but also when he deems it necessary to assist local law enforcement with federal law enforcement, and it does not require the request or even the agreement of local officials, although it is very rare that you would see a president send in troops in opposition to local request, although, as I just said, in Arkansas, that is an example. But I think the fear here is, as you mentioned, what David Frum has written, is President Trump is sort of pouncing on an opportunity, seeing some protests on the streets, some use of weapons, some throwing of rocks and other things, to send in federal troops under the theory that it's necessary to protect federal law enforcement and federal property. So I think he has the lawful authority to do this, but one of the things I learned as a prosecutor is just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. And so here, if the goal really is to calm emotions and passions, the last thing I think you want to do is to send in federal troops, which seems to me likely to escalate tensions.
Exactly.
And now we're seeing more people coming out on the streets in protest. And so, I worry that this is sort of just the excuse that President Trump was looking for. He's pouncing on this opportunity. And then is it likely to inflame passions? Yes. And when those passions become inflamed, he can send more troops in. So I do worry that this is just the first step in what could be a real escalation of tensions.
Yeah. How much of this, to your mind, Barbara, you sort of teed this up for me to ask you about. How much of this, to your mind, has to do, and by this I don't mean just LA, I mean every way that he's moving, all the ways he shows up. How much of this, to your mind, is really about his effort, his attempt, his mission to quiet dissent as he sees it, any kind of dissent?
Yeah, I think so. And in fact, I write about this in my book that you mentioned. We've seen this tactic not only from President Trump, but from other authoritarian leaders in other countries in the world. And that is that if I want to quiet my critics, I exercise power against them. In the same way, we've seen the president use his power against universities and law firms and science. We are now seeing it being used against protesters because when people protest, it causes other people to take notice and question policies and wonder whether these ideas are good if so many of our fellow Americans object to them. And so one way to deal with dissent is to squash it through violence, through armed forces. We see that in other countries. And, in the United States, we, of course, everyone from the right and the left treasures our value of peaceful protest. Now, sometimes when people get together and protest, things get out of hand. And I think from a law enforcement perspective, the best way to deal with that is to try to de-escalate a situation. That's not necessarily using maximum force. It is finding ways to do it. During the George Floyd protests, some of the best, most effective responses I saw were law enforcement participating in protests, kneeling with protesters, and joining them in alliance. When you start, cracking heads with billy clubs, it might cause people to be quiet, but sometimes it also unleashes more unrest. But I do see this as, an effort to take a grain of truth, that is, some protesters who are engaging in property damage and other throwing rocks, and escalate it into an appearance, a perception, a story you can tell of civil unrest under the guise of protecting the public from this violence on the streets, when in fact it is the presence of the military that is causing that violence. And so I think this show of force is about, one, intimidating protesters into silence, and two, creating a show of force that will appeal to a certain segment of the electorate that supports Donald Trump, those that love the idea of law and order through force, and immigration hawks who will see this use of force as, sort of an us versus them dehumanizing of immigrants.
Go back to your book again. It's called Attack from Within, How Disinformation Is Sabotaging America. I don't even want to repeat the stuff that Donald Trump has said, but if you read the news reports of what he has been pushing out in his Truth Social platform, the statements he's been making from the White House about what's happening in L.A., nothing can be further from the truth. The way that Donald Trump has attempted to frame what really is not happening in L.A., to justify what he is doing in L.A., is just night and day. I mean, they're lies, just lies, and more lies. Say a word, if you will, about how he, to my mind at least, is the chief of disinformation in this country.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think you're wise not to repeat his words because we don't want to amplify his false claims. But he uses social media, including Truth Social, to put out inflammatory things that, again, I say have a germ of truth, but escalating them to suggest that there is widespread unrest on the streets of LA. I've seen the photos, I've seen the images. You're there. You probably know what's happening. I think this began as protesters quietly protesting immigration raids by ICE at workplaces. That alone is a policy decision. That is a decision perhaps voters did approve of when they elected Donald Trump to office. I will tell you from a personal perspective, as a law enforcement official who did enforce immigration laws, it seems to me a foolish way to allocate resources. People looking for work at a Home Depot are not likely to be people contributing to violence and threats to public safety. Instead, we prioritized immigration enforcement to go after people who were a threat to public safety or national security, people who had been convicted of violent crimes or otherwise posed some threat to public safety. Going around to Home Depots and restaurants where people are working hard for a living, it strikes me as a poor use of those resources, because while all your agents are there at the Home Depot, that means they're not going after people with a record of violence. But, that's a policy choice, and that's a policy choice this president has made, and perhaps a majority of the electorate approves. So that's one piece of it. But to go into those workplaces, people are understandably disagreeing with that policy choice and peacefully protesting. That's how it began. But when you engage in heavy-handed tactics, shows of force, you are going to increase the visibility of the police presence. And bringing in the National Guard, I think now creates this us versus them mentality that in the long run will escalate violence and also create division in society between civil society and the military. That is not good for our military recruiting in the long term, is not good for the morale of our military, and is not good for the public relations of the military, who go into this work because they want to protect their fellow Americans from external threats, not use their force against their fellow Americans.
You said a couple of things right now I want to go back to right quick. I got about 3 minutes now. We can continue, of course, when we come forward. But since you went there with your last point, just say a quick word about the way in which the military in this moment is being politicized by the commander-in-chief. He certainly has, as you said earlier, the authority to send troops here to protect federal property. They can't do anything in terms of managing what's happening in the streets. They can come and protect federal property as if anybody's attacking it. They are not. Nothing is happening in L.A., ladies and gentlemen. It is very peaceful in this city right about now. But say a quick word about the way that the military, again, they have no say-so in it. The president says something, you have to do it. He is the commander-in-chief. But they are, to my mind, Barbara, being politicized in this moment.
Yeah. Yes, I think that's right. One of the things that this brings to mind is what happened in Portland in 2020. We saw, widespread protests across the country after the killing of George Floyd, understandably, but it escalated in Portland when we saw a strong show of force by federal law enforcement, and they were doing some things there, reportedly, that was not lawful, like not wearing a uniform, not wearing an insignia, picking up protesters and taking them to some place for questioning before releasing them. And, that drew more people into the violence, and it became, burning of federal buildings and other kinds of things. And you wonder, why on earth would a president want to escalate this kind of violence? And I think it is for political advantage to say, look at how awful and violent these people are. I am here to show strength and force to restore peace and order to our streets. When in fact, the truth, it seems to me, is quite likely that it is this very presence of heavy-handed law enforcement, whether it's federal law enforcement or federal troops, that is actually escalating tensions. So creating this emergency and then coming to the rescue to put it out, to me, is a political abuse of power that is divisive in our society.
Barbara mentions these raids at the Home Depots. If you're in L.A. right now, if you were in L.A. right now and you drove by Home Depot or Lowe's, you wouldn't see anybody out there. It's a ghost town. These persons are so fearful right now. They're not even coming out of their homes. We were told, I saw data yesterday suggesting the churches are empty. Churches are empty. They're not just going to Home Depots, these agents, these ICE agents. They've been going to schools. Home Depot's bad enough, but you're literally, really rounding up kids, you're snatching kids out of schools. That's what's happening. There's a car wash in L.A. that I frequent about 5 miles from this studio. And yesterday in the middle of the afternoon, ICE agents showed up at the car wash and rounded everybody up. People's cars were literally in the middle of going through the machine. Their cars were being treated, and they just rounded everybody up. And people just had to grab their keys and grab their cars. They just rounded everybody up at this particular car wash. That's the kind of nonsense that's happening here. Barbara's book is called Attack from Within, How Disinformation is Sabotaging America. If Donald Trump were here right now, he'd say what he's doing is aimed at saving America. Barbara says he's sabotaging America. I want to unpack that term when we come forward and a great deal more with Barbara McQuade on Tavis Smiley.
Helping to stretch your moral and political imagination. This is Tavis Smiley.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Dozens protested outside of Detroit, Michigan's ICE office Sunday, opposing immigration raids in LA, including Cassandra Rodriguez with Detroit Community Action Committee.
Right now, LA is experiencing a lot of raids that can very much happen anywhere in the country. So we decided to come out, show our support.
Activists condemned Trump's National Guard deployment and called attention to undocumented vets facing deportation. President Trump's travel ban is now in effect, fully restricting entry from 12 countries, including Afghanistan, Iran, and Somalia, citing security risks. Partial restrictions apply to 7 others, including Cuba and Venezuela. And the 2025 BET Awards takes center stage tonight at LA's Peacock Theater. Hosted by Kevin Hart, the show celebrates Black excellence in music, film, TV, and sports. Kendrick Lamar leads the pack with 10 nominations. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Right now, there are young people across the world facing a tough choice: continue their dream of education or drop out to help their family put food on the table. You can help change their future in a single moment. See how far your support can go at unbound.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The NBA Finals is tied up at 1-1. The Oklahoma City Thunder rebounded from a traumatic loss in Game 1 with a 123-107 win over the Indiana Pacers. Another magnificent game from NBA MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 34 points and 8 assists. SGA has 72 points in the first 2 games in the finals. That's the highest 2-game total in NBA history for a player competing in his first finals. The next 2 games are in Indianapolis. Game 3 is Wednesday night. The Dodgers beat St. Louis Sunday 7-3. They start a 3-game series tonight in San Diego. The Angels lost at home to Seattle 3-2. Angels batters struck out 18 times. The Angels start a 3-game series tonight at home against Oakland. UCLA's baseball team is in the College World Series for the first time since 2013. The Bruins beat Texas San Antonio 7-0 to win the LA Super Regional. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like to check the GPS directions first, before driving to the mall.
Turn right at the light. In 1,000 miles, you will reach Montreal.
Not Montreal, the mall.
Recalculating. 6,000 miles to Nepal.
No, the mall.
Checking first is smart.
Recalculating.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint!
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again! Holla, holla!
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God!
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on! On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice Plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There'll be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat.
On Saturday, June 21st, there are two big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
We love you. Love you.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Life was bitter to the core. There was nothing to live for until love came. And even second times around, happiness could not be found until love came. I was left all alone.
My heart was breaking.
Thought was my own.
Was aching.
Tears cover me.
We've been through the whole night.
And I need some relief.
Joy comes in the morning.
Been searching for
many years now.
keys to life's door.
Need to know how.
Brought to my knees.
Savior, can you help me?
And was led to
I
believe.
tell you, I was too
And his love showed me love, said not so. Even with the odds against me. Love showed me love, said not so.
It's June, Black Music Month, and so every day on our program we choose a different artist in residence and we play some of the best of their catalog, all 3 hours of our program, weaving in and out of these amazing conversations with these great guests. Today it's the best of the Winans, the entire family. The Winans brothers, BB and CC, all of them Winans out of Detroit. That track, of course, Love Said Not So from BB and CC. Our guest in this hour is Barbara McQuade, former U.S. Attorney, perennial New York Times bestselling author. Her latest out in paperback right now is called Attack from Within, How Disinformation Is Sabotaging America. Before I jump back into the conversation with Barbara, here is some sound that I promised from our city attorney, Heidi Feldstein-Soto, who was a guest with me yesterday. We started this hour playing some sound from Karen Bass. Take a listen now to a brief comment from our city attorney yesterday. There's no naivete in asking this question. Why do you believe that the Trump administration is doing this?
You're asking me to read into the mind of a mindset that seems insane to me, so that's very difficult. There's lots of rumors, Tavis, and I don't want to repeat rumors.
Sure.
But my understanding is that the direction to dramatically and quickly escalate came from a very senior level within the administration, not necessarily the president himself, although, it well could have been.
Yeah.
But I think even Stephen Miller has said that he held a meeting with senior officials from DHS and ICE in Border Patrols, insisting that they escalate and escalate quickly because he wanted to see more arrests than were happening.
That aforementioned Stephen Miller, Deputy Chief of Staff to the President, was the subject, the centerpiece, the epicenter of what got Terry Moran fired yesterday, certainly suspended from ABC News. The longtime reporter Terry Moran at ABC posted something about how evil, how hateful Stephen Miller is in the way he is moving inside the White House, including the way they're approaching these immigration issues and what they're doing here in L.A. Terry Moran posted something, ultimately took it down, but it cost him his job. He got suspended yesterday at ABC News, not unlike reporters at CBS who walked out of the building some weeks ago at 60 Minutes, the head of news at CBS. They just can't take the way these news operations are bending the knee, not really speaking truth to power or to the powerless. You can read about Terry Moran. If you didn't hear that story, we broke that news while we were literally on the air yesterday on Sunday, trying to frame up what it is that we're dealing with here in the city and indeed the nation. That's Stephen Miller that the city attorney Heidi Feldstein-Soto mentioned a moment ago. Let me go from Stephen Miller to the president himself, who Heidi also referenced. And as I said a moment ago, if President Trump were here, I suspect he'd say what he's doing is about saving America. But you argue, Barbie, that what he's really doing is sabotaging America. That's the subtitle of your new text, Attack from Within. Tell me more.
Yes. So it seems to me that so many of the actions that President Trump takes are, under the guise of what's in the best interest of the country, but instead seem to me more in the best interest of himself and acquiring power. I mean, this is, I think, a great example of that, using a very heavy-handed technique to suggest that military presence is needed when most observers, including local officials who would seem to know best, say it is not, and in fact will only escalate tensions. Governor Newsom, Mayor Bass have all said, please don't send these people here. But it goes beyond that in many other ways. Some of the things we see the president doing, for example, in his Middle Eastern trip, obtaining financial benefits for himself and for his family, his cryptocurrency that is attracting high donors to have dinner with him, his acceptance of a plane from Saudi Arabia to serve as Air Force One instead of waiting for an American company to build those things. All of these things in the guise of best serving the country and best serving himself. Even some of the financial policies we see, people voting against their own financial best interests by persuading them that the rival political party is aligned with individuals and leaders who want to destroy America, creating, I think, scapegoats for society, telling people that the reason that you are not as well off as perhaps your parents' generation is because of immigrants. Black and brown people are taking your jobs, black jobs. DEI is somehow causing people to take what is rightfully yours. All of these things, I think, are an effort to pit working class white voters against other working class voters, because if those groups ever got together, they would vote in their own financial best interest. And so by dividing and conquering, it seems to me that President Trump is amassing power and changing laws in ways that will benefit wealthier people and not other people, but doing this by lying to people about what's really harming them economically in this society. Even tariffs, it seems to me, are an effort to build power, to assert leverage against other countries in the world so that they have to come back and beg for mercy and give something up to the president or to the country in exchange for letting them out from under these tariffs. So I see his assertion of power as something that's based on disinformation and leverage in an effort to obtain power and riches for himself.
Speaking of disinformation, when we come forward, I want to ask Barbara, to what extent does she see these law firms? She is a lawyer, of course, former U.S. attorney, but to what extent does she see these law firms and these media outlets bending the knee as aiding and abetting, as being complicit in this disinformation that is sabotaging America? We'll talk about that part when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
California to the Carolinas. Everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
We asked seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone, and should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
121212. You ready?
Somebody make some noise in this joint.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates its 4th anniversary this year on Juneteenth.
Here we go again.
Hard to believe 4 years has gone by so fast.
Oh my God.
But here we are, still standing, still loving and serving our people as best we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
To celebrate our 4th anniversary, we have 4 big events, and you're invited to all of them.
She got a lot to say. Let's do this.
Let's get it on! On Wednesday, June 18th, we go live on C-SPAN for the 2nd consecutive year with our Climate Justice plus Black Health Symposium. Tavis Smiley will moderate an all-star panel of thinkers and influencers as we continue our vitally important climate justice work.
Hey, Tavis Smiley, talk about.
On Thursday, June 19th, you're invited to join us as we celebrate Juneteenth and our 4th anniversary. There will be plenty of food, fun, great music, good vibes, and all of your favorite KBLA Talk 1580 hosts will be there.
Yeah, man.
Flip the beat. On Saturday, June 21st, there are 2 big events you're invited to attend.
I can't wait to hear it.
This year, KBLA Talk 1580 continues its annual partnership with the Empowerment Congress for a community celebration and dialogue to educate, engage, and empower. This year's theme is resilience in the face of chaos.
Can't wait to see what's up next.
Y'all ain't ready for this.
And new this year is our State of Black Women in Los Angeles Symposium, moderated by Dominique DePrima, with a luncheon to follow. Dominique will be leading a dialogue with some of the most impactful Black women leaders in Los Angeles, and you're invited to join.
This is it.
All of these events are free, but seating is limited, so you must register in advance at our KBLA1580.com website, where you can find all the details you need about each event.
Check it out.
It's our 4th anniversary, and we would love to celebrate it with you.
I love you guys so much. There's nothing you can do about it.
We're KBLA Talk 1580.
The only black talk radio station west of the Mississippi.
Thank you for having our black.
Happy anniversary, KBLA!
Love you. Love you.
Pasadena City College is proud to support Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr. For over 100 years, PCC has been a pillar of the community, and we're here for you as we work together to recover from the Eaton fire and rebuild Altadena's future. At PCC, we offer diverse career education programs that prepare you for in-demand jobs, fueling both today's recovery and tomorrow's growth. Whether you're starting a new career or advancing your skills, PCC gives you tools to build your future and your community. Pasadena City College, here for the Dena, here for you. Learn more at PCCfordena.com.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Barbara McQuade, former U.S. attorney, perennial New York Times bestselling author. Her latest out in paperback now is called Attack from Within, How Disinformation Is Sabotaging America. Donald Trump cannot do this alone, although he's trying, Barbara McQuade. This disinformation that you argue is sabotaging our country, I think in that regard, he's being aided and abetted by some of these law firms that are bending the knee, these media operations that are bending the knee, these academic institutions bending the knee. What's your read of how complicit they are in his disinformation campaign?
Yes, I think they're showing weakness, but I think that weakness is giving him power. So, for example, you mentioned all these law firms. These are powerful law firms. They make millions of dollars a year. And yet when Donald Trump says, you have violated the law either by employing someone who weaponized the law against me, no evidence of that whatsoever. But people who employed Andrew Weissman, for example, who worked at a law firm, he worked on the special counsel's case that indicted Donald Trump before he came back into office, or employed a lawyer who worked on the Hillary Clinton campaign, or who participated in what he calls illegal DEI programs, which are DEI programs, but nothing illegal about them. He uses those allegations to create leverage and says, but I'll tell you what, I'll let you out of it if you settle with me. And then we've seen a few law firms courageously go to court, and they've won every time, understandably so. But so many of these firms instead are entering into settlements with him. Now, they may think this is costing us nothing because all we're giving is pro bono legal services, which we would give anyway, and we'll just do it with causes that he cares about as opposed to other causes. So it's costing us nothing, and we get to continue to operate as usual. But they're choosing a coward's way out because what they say is we're protecting our clients who might come into the crosshairs of the Trump administration, and we don't want to do that. But I think it's a very short-sighted resolution, because one thing I learned in prosecuting extortion cases, and I believe that's exactly what this is, extortion, is that the extortionist always comes back for more. So, you told me you'd give me $60 million in pro bono services. Now I'm going to tell you who you're going to represent. You're going to represent, police officers who've been accused of I'm speculating, of abusing their power against unarmed citizens. That may be something they don't want to represent, but they're going to be asked for more and more and more things. So I think it was a very short-term decision because, as we said, the firms that did push back are winning their lawsuits for violations of their First Amendment rights of free association, of free speech, their Sixth Amendment right to counsel of their choice for their clients, their Fifth Amendment rights to due process. So I think they're making a very short-sighted and harmful decision, and some of them are starting to lose clients for it, and instead going to firms where people will fight for their rights. The media is another one, Tavis, that I think has also been complicit. We have seen, as you've said, this reporter lose his job over something that was, really a very, in my view, inoffensive use of rhetoric. It was name-calling, but it was not an offensive use of name-calling. It was an opinion. But we've also seen media entities reach settlements rather than fighting back against what I saw as frivolous defamation claims. We saw ABC enter into a settlement. And we have seen some of these big media companies providing large donations to the Trump inauguration. So I think that we need a vigorous, independent, free press. And I worry that when President Trump asserts power against them, they are too easily caving in and capitulating, which means that they're not really an independent and free press at all, which is what we really need to speak truth to power.
Donald Trump's disinformation campaign has resulted at the moment in the National Guard being on the streets of the city that I'm sitting in right now, the city of Los Angeles. And when we come forward in our remaining moments with Barbara McQuade, I want to ask her, when people when the fear is palpable, when people are so afraid they're not even coming out of their houses, they're not going to church, they're not going to schools here in Los Angeles, how in that moment, how in that space do we disarm this weapon of disinformation that she argues is sabotaging America as we know it? That's how we'll close when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good.
Yeah, man.
Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. If you need help getting your resume in order, finding job training, or landing a job, we've got 3 great options for you. First, the City of Los Angeles has WorkSource centers across the area offering free job support. The California Workforce Development Board can help you with everything from GED prep to vocational training at no cost to you. On the federal level, the Department of Labor's American Job Centers offer a full range of services services for job seekers and businesses alike. Visit careeronestop.org, or for more info, just call California's Help Center or visit cwdb.ca.gov or call 916-657-1440. For the City of Los Angeles programs, go to ewd.lacity.gov or call 213-744-7300. All these services are free to help you get your next job. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Nationwide is so much more than a great insurance company. They're one of America's largest financial services companies. Like how I'm more than Saquon Barkley, the NFL's reigning leading rusher. I'm also the NFL's leading husher. Shh, hush up back there. Wow, I might have just set the hushing record. Well, almost. For your insurance and financial needs, Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Investment Services Corporation, member FINRA, Columbus, Ohio.
Less monologue, more dialogue. Tavis Smiley continues right now.
I got 3.5 or 4 minutes left here with Barbara McQuade. Again, her book out in paperback right now. It's called Attack from Within, How Disinformation Is Sabotaging America. I should mention that Governor Gavin Newsom, who Barbara McQuade mentioned earlier, has announced he is suing the federal government over these National Guard troops being here on the streets of L.A. right now. He is suing the federal government. Of course, courts take time, and the troops are already here, and we'll see what that results in, but there you have it. My extra question, Barbara, with 3 minutes to go, I'll give it all to you, is how do we disarm this disinformation campaign, this creeping authoritarianism? What are we, the demos, to do?
Yes, I think there are a number of things we can do as individuals. One is to work to get accurate information. Don't rely just on social media. Don't rely just on images you're seeing from the newspaper. You need to read and go out there, go out there for yourselves and see what's going on. I've talked to friends who are there in LA and say these were peaceful protests. So learn the facts. Also talk with your friends and neighbors. Data says that our most persuasive sources of information are people we know and trust. So, if you've got the crazy uncle or a neighbor who thinks that this is all laudable, talk with them about the facts, about why the mayor and the governor are opposing this and what might be at stake here, that perhaps this is not simply an effort to calm unrest, but an effort to escalate it so that we can see more and more of it in a seizure of power, especially in blue states. And I also think, finally, one thing that we can do is when we talk to people who might disagree with us, we need to do so with respect and curiosity and graciousness, so that we're not just hammering them over the head and telling them they're wrong and they're foolish. We need to listen. We need to plant seeds. They may not admit that they've changed their mind just because of our conversation, but if you can at least plant a seed with them to be skeptical and to ask questions, then I think we can help our fellow neighbors to be less accepting of what Donald Trump is selling.
I got a minute here to go. Given that they've now fallen out and they're fighting like elephants, Trump and Elon Musk, what are we to make of that in terms of these tech billionaires who've been courting Donald Trump for favor, at least heretofore?
Yeah, I think it exposes the weakness of each of them. The fact that they're each threatening the other, calling each other names. I hate to see any kind of dysfunction in our government, but if any two deserve it, it's these two. And I hope that this helps people to understand just who we have making these big decisions and whether it was ever wise to entrust someone like Elon Musk with the secret data of every American.
I am always grateful to guests who understand that when we have breaking news like we have today and the whole nation is covering a particular story, that we have to work that into our conversation and weave it in as best we can, even as they are booked to talk about something else. But I think she did an amazing job of addressing the issues that the country is wrestling with today as it relates to her new book called Attack from Within, How Disinformation Is Sabotaging America. Hard to find anybody better at it than Barbara McQuade. Barbara, thank you for your time. All the best to you. I appreciate your coming on this program today.
Thanks so much for having me, Tavis. Have a great day.
You do the same. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Dozens protested outside of Detroit, Michigan's ICE office Sunday.
So we decided to come out, show our support.
Activists condemned Trump's National Guard deployment and called attention to undocumented